is ABC News Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
Good evening. Most Americans get most of what they know about the political campaigns of our presidential candidates right here. Oh, not here on this particular broadcast, but here on television. That's not in and of itself good or bad. It's simply a fact of political life these days. The candidates and their campaign staffs know it, cater to it, shape and schedule their days because of it. It seemed reasonable, therefore, especially on the eve of the Carter-Reagan debate, which may be the single most influential television event of all, that we step back and take a brief look at the process, and to a degree, at ourselves. We begin with this report from Steve Shepard.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next president of the United States of America, Ronald Reagan!
Most Americans will never see a presidential candidate in person. They won't be on hand as Ronald Reagan, accompanied by some eye-catching PR, sweeps into town to press the flesh and ask for votes. They won't be there as President Carter steps into a high school auditorium to explain why he should be re-elected. But Carter and Reagan and even John Anderson are as familiar to most Americans as the neighbors across the street. That's because presidential candidates are only as far as the nearest TV set. It's fair to say that the campaigns are often geared almost exclusively to getting good coverage on nightly TV broadcasts. A campaign trip President Carter began last Friday explains a great deal. The starting point was Andrews Air Force Base just outside Washington. On this day, reporters for the newspapers, wire services, and network TV begin to gather just after noon for 2 days of travel to New Jersey and the Midwest. Personal belongings are sent to the cargo hold of the press plane, but TV cameras and recorders stay in the hands of the TV crews. They are too delicate to be left to baggage handlers and too important not to be available on a moment's notice. Washington Post staff writer Robert Kaiser has long observed the role of TV in presidential campaigns.
The way these campaigns are organized now, as you know better than I, the candidates arrange everything for your cameras. It doesn't really matter very much if Jimmy Carter is in New Jersey or Texarkana or the suburbs of Chicago. For the national news that night, it all looks the same.
But it does matter that the TV cameras have a chance to get the best possible picture of the candidate. Thus, on this trip, like all others, the press plane takes off some 20 minutes before Air Force One. That way, the TV cameras can be rolling when the president arrives at his first stop. During the flight, there are moments of joking and light banter, but that ends immediately upon landing. When the press plane lands, it's best to look out. Correspondents and camera crews only have a few moments to set up for the arrival of the president. They don't let anyone get in their way. The people of Gloucester City, New Jersey, found that out about 30 minutes later. President Carter did his best to wave to Gloucester City supporters, but many got a better view of camera crews than the president. Inside the local Knights of Columbus Hall, it was again clear that Carter's appearance was made for TV. Even traveling print journalists had a hard time seeing the president over the TV equipment. When the Carter appearance was over, TV correspondents took a few seconds to summarize what they'd seen and then spoke to their cameras.
They would hurt even more tomorrow. Sam Donaldson, ABC News, Gloucester, New Jersey. Do it.
ABC's Sam Donaldson then rushed to an awaiting helicopter for the 8-minute flight to WPBI, the ABC affiliate in nearby Philadelphia. By now, he had less than 2 hours to write and edit a report on the Carter campaign for ABC's World News Tonight.
Okay, stop. That's it. Okay.
The time pressure is fierce. Emotions sometimes run high. There are few moments for reflection or analysis. However, by 6 o'clock Eastern Time last Friday night, the president's trip to New Jersey was on the air. Millions viewed it through the reports carried on the 3 network newscasts. That's just as the Carter campaign wanted it to be. But despite the trip and all the energy that went into getting it on TV, there is evidence that this year at least, TV hasn't had much effect on the election.
I think we have to face the fact that there's been very little movement in popular opinion in this election since September. We started out with about 40% for Carter and about 40% for Reagan and a lot of undecided voters, and that's what we've got today.
But there is one major TV event to go, tomorrow's debate in Cleveland, and that event could be the biggest single factor in the 1980 election. Steve Shepard, ABC News,